What's up, everybody? It's John's podcast. This is my good friend Ron. How you doing?
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good. All right. So, see, you kind of want to get like an interview, kind of promote, your book and everything. Talk a little bit about that. Like, what is it exactly about for your fans?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Ron or Ronald, and I used to be a trader, and then I started coaching traders. And the book is really about that. It's about coaching traders. But what I found when I was coaching traders is not only that if you coach them in the right way, traders can earn more money, can start to do well. Actually, they start to have some sort of growth, some personal growth, some spiritual growth. And the book is really documenting that. It's about how you can make more money and actually become a more spiritual, more inner peace kind of person. So the name of the book is The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom. So that's what it's about.
Okay. Where do you start from that? Like, what was the idea?
Oh, actually, it was my experience. So for me personally, I worked in finance as a trader and worked in finance for many years, and I was also had my kind of spiritual side to things. So not necessarily religious or whatever, just spiritual. So I like to meditate. I like to do kind of various practices, and that's always been part of my life. But at the beginning of my career, I kept them very separate. And you find that if you talk about finance in the spiritual world, they'll be like, well, what are they doing? And you talk about spirit in the finance world, and like, oh, what a waste of time. So I just kept them very separate. Then over time, the two of them were sort of closer and closer, and I was quite open about talking about both. But then what I found is that when I started working with traders, so I gave up my working in a bank about 5 years ago. I started working with traders to coach them to let them become better traders. We found that the main thing was to work on their mindset. And by working on their mindset, they became more emotionally even. They became more able to execute their plan, which, if you've ever traded, you realize that half of it is the plan, and the other half is actually having the right mind, the right emotions to actually execute your plan.
Hmm.
So, as that kept on going, as I kept on working with them, the way I did it, the techniques I used, um, allowed people to actually do some pretty deep healing, or some really move past some big pain. And as that happened, then people would become more light. Their interactions would become freer, and over time, that would lead to even deeper peace, even deeper sense of well-being. And the more that my clients, my coaches, would talk about this stuff, I thought this is not that far language from what my spiritual buddies kind of say. And so I started thinking a bit more about it. And over time, it became clear that it is basically the same path. You come at it at a different angle, but at a certain point, it starts to be the same thing. You're looking for moving past your emotion, moving past your fear, moving to a point where you've got more connection with your true inner sense, and your desire to actually create something in the world. So anyway, I found that they were similar. So after doing that for a couple of years, I realized, I want to write a book about this. I can only coach a certain number of people, but if I write a book, I can get the message out there. I can get people to realize that these two worlds, which on the surface maybe they seem like they're very different, very antagonistic, actually that they can move parallel. They can, if you are somebody who wants to not give up one or the other, if you want to make some money through your trading and you want to continue developing as a person, they don't have to be separate. Actually, they can be hand in hand.
Okay. Correct. Yeah, for personally me, I've learned in that experience like to have those two compatible to where you find balance. That's that pretty much like where you were saying like you were going along that process to like find balance between the two because like you say it's two different worlds and a lot of people don't put those together. They find time for their inner emotional and mental status to figure that out. And then when it comes to business and mentality of that kind of stuff and trading, as you said,
Mm.
they find something else. They find different time to do that when you can literally do it all in one time. It's basically what
Mm.
you're saying in your book that it kind of breaks that down, is what you're saying.
Yeah, indeed. And that was my experience. That during the day, I go to
Mhm.
work, I work with traders, I help make money for my bank, my clients, and then afterwards on weekends or maybe in the morning, I might sit and meditate. I might read some spiritual literature or philosophy, and they were different worlds. Um, and this was the surprising thing with my clients is that what when we okay so let me maybe this can help clarify. So I've got a client. This is not her real name, but I've got a client, let's call her Joe. She she came to me and we're working, and she was having a problem with her trades. There's a pattern. She was actually a very good trader. She had a way of looking at how the trading patterns would set up, and then with that setup, she would enter a trade if it looked good, and usually it'd be a good trade. She'd make money, and she became quite an expert at this style of trading. And what happened was, if she'd have a month where, say, towards the end of the month, the numbers, the profit and loss was not quite the level she wanted, she started seeing patterns that were there. She wanted these patterns so much she starts like seeing them when they're not even there. She starts trading on patterns which are not there, and then at the end of the month, she loses money on those because they're not real patterns. And then at the end of the month, she looks back and goes, "Why did I trade on that? It made no sense." But there was something inside that said, "Look, I've got to trade. I've got to find a pattern." So we use my 5-step process, which I go into in the book, and it became clear that there was this quite strong fear of failure. If she didn't make her target, this fear of failure was starting to come about a week before the end of the month, and it gets stronger, and it would just try to force a success, which you can never do with trading. So we got, okay, so we got fear of failure. Where's that coming from? It turned out it's something based in her childhood, something with her mother. But once we saw it and we could move past it, she realized this fear of failure is not warranted anymore. She's a grown up, life's different, situation's different, and she moved past it. But once she could move past it, once she got that awareness and moved past it, she was much more even with her trading. You know, even if her month was not so good,
Mhm.
she wouldn't start seeing patterns just because her mind was desperate to avoid failure.
Mhm.
So that was bad. But of course, at the same time, this stuff about her failure, a fear of failure, her mum, this is not just about trading. This is about any place where she's below her standard. So she started getting calmer across her life, across in many areas, in her business, in her interactions with her husband. There's a lot of other things that were happening. So in this process, she became a calmer person. She started gathering some deeper inner peace in situations that were far beyond her trading. That's a very easy to digest, sort of clear example of where these two they're not fighting with each other. They're actually absolutely in line, and you keep on doing that. You keep going to deeper and deeper levels, and eventually you're getting to levels of peace which people who work on self development, people who meditate for ages, they are getting to that. But you're getting that through working on your trading. So this was kind of the magic of this process that we ended up finding.
Mm. Okay, wow. So you see, you have already broken down basically down to the T, so where you can help the individual that you were talking about. Like you were talking about the 5 steps, which is I'm gonna ask about if you can break down those 5 steps. But first things first, I kind of want to step back real quick. What exactly is trading just for business persona? Like I just want to understand what trading is.
Yeah, absolutely. So trading. So here we're talking about financial trading, just to be absolutely clear. So financial trading, buying and selling financial assets. So financial asset is a currency, it's a stock, it's a crypto. It's anything where you can quite easily get in and get out of it
Mm.
in a relatively short period of time. And typically, you want to, just to be obvious, you want to buy low, sell high. So you have a view that, for example, Bitcoin has been doing very well in the last 2 weeks. So maybe if 2 weeks ago you thought, this is a good point to buy, you buy there. Maybe you sell now, take your profit and do what you want. But that's really the aim to buy some asset low, sell it high, and the asset can be anything as long as it can be got in and out relatively quickly.
Okay. You have to mentally process. even when something like that you don't understand, or something goes wrong, or let's say stockings dropped, or Bitcoin wasn't, add to its assets, get stressful, right? And then
Yeah,
when you deal with that on a daily basis, you forget about your mental state.
yeah,
And like for me, I meditate. I wouldn't say every single day, but I meditate whenever I feel like my
mm,
body, my mind, and everything is just exhausted, and I need to reevaluate, and I need to just kind of regain myself, and I feel like in any aspect of work line, it doesn't have to be just that. It could be just anything that you're doing in life.
mm,
And I feel like because of what we went through in the last few years,
mm,
it's really taken a toll, and really noticed that a lot of mental awareness, it's became more popular and more aware. And it's great
mm,
that, somebody like you, develop something like this to help people, especially in your line of work, and people that have no guidance, and people that are just lost.
mm.
Speaking on that, can you break down a little bit of those 5 steps that you were referring to earlier?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So indeed, as you say, mental awareness has become more widespread now. If you were talking about this kind of stuff 20 years ago to a trader, they'd be like, "Oh, nothing wrong with me. What are you saying? You're saying I've got some problems or something like this." This was the kind of attitude back then. Now it's much more done. It's okay. It's okay. Like we're not always 100% all the time, and uh, it's okay to seek some help. Um, and I say I don't do therapy. I am trained in therapies, but I don't do therapy. For me, it's about performance, but in a way that there are some people, some well-known people who they will go for performance by getting you really G'd up with loads of energy. Go for it, yeah. That's fine, absolutely great. Um, it works for some people, for some traders. That's not my style. My style is okay. If there's something going wrong, let's look under the hood a little bit. Let's see what there is. And once we've seen enough to move past it, then that's fine. Let's get on. We don't have to cure everything. We just need to be in a state that we can function at a good level. So I'm trained in many things. NLP, which maybe some people know, is a sort of performance psychology. I trained up to a point where I train other people. I certify people. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm trained in something called timeline therapy. There's loads and loads of stuff. And this 5-step process, which is a very simple process, that kind of came with working with people and realizing that there is a kind of way that most people can go from a problem to the root cause of the problem. And that's the aim of this 5-step process, to find out what is the root cause of the problem. And that in itself might be all you need to do. Once you see it, sometimes you might realize it's something ridiculous. It's something that happened when you're 3 years old. Someone shouted at you, and it made sense at the time that you got upset, but now it just doesn't hurt anymore. It's just something lingering in the back of the head. So the aim of this 5-step process is to uncover what that is. So I'll take you just through the steps. For any listeners, they can try and apply this to themselves. So first thing, very simple: what is the problem? And the idea of that is to actually lay out what the problem is. It is very simple, but sometimes people will come, I'm messing up my trading. So I ask them, well, what was the problem? And they're like, I act a bit stupid when my trades are wrong. Oh, okay, that's fine. But let's really lay it out. What is it? When a trade goes up, before the take profit happens, I sell too early. Just really lay it out. Be very clear. What is the actual problem? And that in itself can provide some insights and clarity. The second step is, what are your thoughts around the problem? So what are your thoughts around a specific trade? So when you have a trade that didn't work, what were your thoughts? And just any thoughts. Your thoughts were, oh God, I wish my wife hadn't told me off. Fine, just write that down. If your thoughts are, the market hates me, that's fine, write it down. Just whatever it is. If your thoughts are, I have no idea what I'm doing, write it down. Just any thought that comes, do not dismiss it. Do not say that this is not relevant. Do not do any filtering. Just write down all your thoughts in that moment. They may or may not be relevant later on, but if you don't write them all down, you don't have access to them later in the process.
Mm.
The third stage is so with those thoughts, what are your feelings? What are the feelings? Are your feelings anger? You're feeling sadness? You're feeling hurt? You're feeling guilt? Are you feeling shame? Are you feeling stupid? Are you feeling a failure? Are you feeling good? Sometimes, surprisingly, people might actually have a secret desire to actually undermine themselves. It's very strange, but really put down all the feelings. Don't be shy there. Really write everything down, and just get it all out there. That can start to get a little bit difficult. The first couple of things, they're just an intellectual exercise, really. But when you're looking at your feelings, at that point, you have to sometimes maybe spend a few minutes just really thinking, what really were my feelings? And again, be honest to yourself. The third step, this one starts to get a little bit more, fourth step starts to get a little more difficult. And the first time you do it, it can be good to do it with someone else. So it's to get definitions. So what I mean is define yourself in this moment with this particular trade. How do you define yourself? And usually something will come up like, I'm an idiot, I'm stupid, I'm a failure, but something like that. Just what is it? I'm the greatest, I'm amazing. Whatever it is that comes up, just write down what is the definition of yourself. Same again for other traders. At that moment, what do you think about other traders? Just in that trade. So other traders, they're assholes. Pardon my language. They're whatever is true that comes out. They're assholes. They're trying to get me. They're cheats. They're fakes. Whatever it is you feel about them, just put it there.
Yeah.
And the third definition is, what do you think about the market? The market's cheating. The market's against me. The market hates me. All these kind of things that you might secretly think. You might not articulate them, but just put them out there. So now you have a whole load of stuff. You have the details of what went wrong. You have the thoughts that you had. You have the feelings that you had, and you have these definitions around whatever was involved in the trade. Now, next thing is to just sit there and just to look at all of that. And the question you're running in the back of your head is, what is the assumption that I'm running here? What is the assumption that I'm running here? And you just look at this, you look at this, you look at this, and something will eventually pop up. Don't try and second guess yourself. Don't try and go, oh, I know what it's going to be. Just really look at this and just let something emerge. It's a bit of a kind of, the first time you do it, it might seem like a bit of a magical process. It's not really, it's just your mind processing the stuff. But out of nowhere, out of the unconscious, often something will come. Like, I messed up this trade because the market hates me. Something like that. Some assumption will come up. This is just like what my dad did to me when I was 12 years old. So, okay, where did that come from? Fine. But that's the magic. That is a magic moment. And that's when your unconscious, your conscious, everything is working together to see what is it that's actually the real root cause of this problem. So you move from something like, I exit a trade too early, or I get into a trade too quickly because I'm scared I'm going to miss out, whatever the problem is at the beginning. And then you move to a very, very bespoke, individual, personal issue that is at the root of why it went wrong. And that process can be quite magical. I've seen like pretty hardened people at that moment like start tearing up when they see what it is. And that can be it. That can be enough. At that point, when you see it, like I say, sometimes that's enough to see it, and it will just release. It'll just like, oh, okay, I see what it is. This is not relevant to my trading. Let it release. If that doesn't happen, then that's the point to maybe speak to a coach or someone who can take you through a process of releasing that. And there's many ways of releasing it, which I outline in the book. But that's the core of the process. Is that 5 steps. It's relatively simple. Takes about 20 minutes the first time you do it. If you feel you've got someone you can trust, I recommend doing it with someone you trust the first time. But it's a great experience, and you do that a few times, and that process itself is very enlightening, warming. It brings this inner peace. And the next time you're in a trade where a similar thing starts to happen, your mind will go, hang on, I know what's going on here. And before it overtakes you, in the moment, so not just afterwards when you recognize it, in the moment, you start to actually see what's going on and overcome it. It's really quite cool. It's something that needs to be done, practiced to get the experience. But once
Yeah.
you've experienced it, it's really pretty magical.
Yeah, yeah, because you're kind of exposing it. You're exposing pretty much what your downfalls and the for yourself. And you're kind of just like breaking it down like every single level.
Mm,
Like, okay, for the next step, this is what you need to do. And it kind of just it helps and it structures the individual to see it for themselves. You know what I mean? It's
mm,
like them teaching themselves how to be better and how to handle that a lot better, especially in your line of work. Um, and always support, like you said, it's always best to do it with somebody that you trust because that's supporting each other. And when it comes to that and the mindset, it's better to have two than just one individual because then you're just like kind of scatterbrained. You're like, is this working for me? And you can get like a different aspect or a different point of view from
mm,
the other person you're doing it with. Like, you know what I mean? You're working together on this and you're kind of exploring it together, and even that other person can have an eye opening, towards from the last
mm.
step. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. I'm glad you have it, break it down to where it's 5 steps that just 20 minutes out of your day. It's not like
Mm,
a full hour therapy session or anything like that. Say basically something's wrong, we're like, I know something's wrong. That's why I'm here. But
yeah.
that's awesome, man. Especially, people that are just constantly busy in life, work,
Mm,
responsibilities and stuff like that. It comes to play when it comes to reality. Um, it's definitely something to be more accessible and to be able to reach more with, and stuff like that. And that's why I feel like these kind of steps, it's very important and it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's just very I don't know. I went blank for a second, but no, it's definitely important, and it's definitely something to look forward to for people to really engage with, and that's why I was happy to do this kind of interview because I even did a solo interview speaking about mental status and mental, like how it's important, and a lot of
mm,
people need to focus on that a lot more than just the physical because everybody goes to the gym. Everybody wants to have a fit figure. Everybody wants to look like the next model
mm,
that's on Instagram or whatever, etc. Yes, it's
mm,
fine, but where's your mental status? A lot of people don't understand the high percentage in depression and work stress and just dealing with life as it is. And you have to financially take care of yourself and others. So as your other spouse or your family, your kids, etc. It's a lot to
mm,
deal with in such a short time that we have in this life. And a lot of
mm,
people don't think like, oh, I can live forever, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, life is short, buddy. Life is short, and it all starts in how when we're young, like what you were saying earlier, when you're 3 years old and something, traumatic happens and it's like it's traumatizing from the years on. And it's like a lot of people don't understand raising somebody and teaching them things in life can affect them in their future. And you doing this can help somebody that's dealing with that kind of stuff. And I never had that kind of coaching and never that had that understanding, and in your line of work, it's very fragile with the mentality that people walk into, having that state. People like that don't think about their mind states. People think about numbers, they think about stats and marketing and sales and etc. And it's just like at the end of the day, you just have no time or room for your mind to just relax because it's always constantly on the go,
mm, mm,
and that's where I take appreciation for somebody like you that values that and understands your line of work, but also understands where the mindset needs to be at in order to just deal with this kind of stuff on a daily basis. You were describing earlier pretty much it breaks down for me where I understood it's like you were like we were talking about earlier that you had two individuals in your life. You had that when it came to your work life, and then you came to your mentality in your spiritual life. And when it comes to your spirituality, like you said, it doesn't have to be religion. It doesn't have to be anything like it's just your inner self, your soul, your spirit. And a lot of people have different beliefs, you know, by all means, that's and you understand that's respectful and everything like that. But you found where you can put those two together and it works because when we grew up, well, for me per se, when I grew up, it was never to be exposed to be together. It was always two things that always had to be separate, you know. That's why people go to church on Sundays to get their spiritual awakening, to get their hear the word of the book and get their spiritual woke right in their aspects. But then from Monday through Saturday, if so, you have their working schedule, right? And they don't bring that in their work environment. They basically leave their personal life out the door, which is you found a way to bring your work and your spiritual life together to where it could humbleize and it could get somebody to just focus more on between the both instead of dividing them. Because if you divide them, then you're dividing yourself. You have to be whole in one to have your mental and your spiritual and your physical appearance come opposed. Because when you, let's say for example, we had a guy named Joe, right? Let's say we had a guy named Joe. He first thing he wakes up in the morning, he meditates for like good 10 minutes. Right? Gets the day started, gets, you know, get rolling and stuff like that. And he comes to his physical appearance. He works out for at least a good 45 minutes just to get his physical and just ready to be about the day, right? Gets ready for work, has his coffee, breakfast, etc. Gets to work, right? From 9 to 5, he works, right? He does all that stuff, trading, for example. Um, Gets off at a decent time, and then he goes out for a drink, right? Just to relax himself and splurge himself. And then he goes home and goes to sleep. Now, imagining doing that on a daily basis every single day. What are you doing? You're on a routine, right? You're on a routine. You get comfortable. You get comfortable. You pretty much lack yourself in a mental appearance. And every day it's like you're robotic. You don't get your spiritual awakening. So little by little, you're killing your spiritual self. You know what I mean? You're not really opposing yourself to exercise yourself mentally and spiritually to keep yourself alive every single day. And that's how I personally take it. And imagine vice versa, somebody else that was in your standpoint. So you're awake both in and out. Like you're awake in your spiritual, your mental, and your physical. That I feel like is a beast at life. Like you're already winning as it is. Like every single day, you're waking up into a new chapter because you're dealing with daily basis in different things in a different standpoint every single day. And not only that, you're teaching somebody. And teaching somebody is always like a reward for yourself, not just reward for giving somebody knowledge, but you're giving somebody to have a different point of view in life and to be able to save themselves. And that can continuing, like you said, just doing this book itself is already having that knowledge to carry on what you taught yourself. So it just takes that one moment to just have a spiritual woke. And that's what you did. And honestly, I applaud to that, man, because nowadays everybody just finds an excuse to just give up. You know what I mean? Because they're just tired of it. They're tired of doing what they're doing every single day. And it's like, you know, you found a way to like, look, man, I got 5 easy steps you can use. I got a book you can read throughout the day whenever you have some downtime. Whatever is up to you is accessible. It's doable. It's just 20 minutes out of your day. you know. Instead of just you being on your phone, being, memorized on your phone, you can read a book for 5 minutes, 10 minutes throughout your day. And you can feel like a whole brand new person, like when I used to get into marketing and reading about sales, etc. I feel like I was reopening my mind to a whole different chapter in my life because I never did that. I never understood that, but it was a point in my life where I wanted to understand that. Plus, I was in my spiritual life at that time, and mixing those two together, I felt like I was like, um, I don't know. I just felt like a pastor and a sales marketer at the same time. There's actually some pastor that I knew that was in the business before he became a pastor. And then
mm,
once he became a pastor, he put the church persona in a business persona, which it was
mm,
good, but it had its flaws at the same time because he mixed it both to where the church became a business and not more of a priority to a spiritual wake. And in my personal opinion, that's where it failed because he didn't know the difference between the two. He kind of just
mm,
like mixed it to where it was business, then spiritual wake. And I'm like, you gotta have your spiritual before your business. You know what I mean? You wake up, you gotta have your coffee before the day starts. You know what I mean? That
mm,
that book could be your coffee. And that's how I see
mm,
it. But yeah, honestly, man, that's great. I'm really glad, to find, well, you found me, that you
yeah,
found me to do this kind of
yeah,
things, man.
very,
Because
very
I've been wanting to touch bases on, things like that, and
mm,
honestly, man, and then, real quick,
mm.
is this book already released, or do you have a release date?
Yeah, this one is released. So this is the one that's released is the short version. So I've got a longer version coming out in the summer, but I felt like I just want to get this message out there as soon as possible. So I thought I'd release this has all of the facts in it. The longer one will go into more depth, but this really has everything.
Mhm.
So I thought I'd release this as soon as I could. So it was released recently, last month. So it's available on Amazon. The Trader's Path to Inner Wisdom.
Okay, you say it's on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
Okay. Excuse me. Is there any other assets like a audiobook or anything like that that they can be accessible, or is it just Amazon in particular?
Amazon's where you get it. I might move at the moment. Uh, I put it there because then you can do free promotions and stuff. So I really want to get the message out there. At some point, I'll probably move it to other platforms, but the way Amazon likes to control a lot of stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
so they don't let you put it elsewhere at a certain stage.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and with the current book, it's I say it's the shorter version, is the core version. And actually, with that, I'm giving one free coaching session for whoever if you buy the book, you get a free coaching session with me or one of my team. So it's really, you get to really experience it firsthand, what the 5 steps and how it all goes. So for now, it's in Amazon, and then maybe in 3 months' time, I might be able to move it to more platforms.
Awesome, man. Yeah, step by step. You
Yeah,
coach it,
yeah,
you know it. That's what's up, man. Real
mm,
quick, we are running out of time, so I
yeah,
just kind of
cool.
just want to touch up to where the followers and people that are watching can find you, your social
Mhm.
assets, and things that they can catch up on. So, like, if they need to have a link or anything like that to find the book,
Mm.
where would they be able to have that access to?
Yeah, so my website, ronaldshah.com, RONALSHAH.com, that has pretty much links to everything. It has a link to my LinkedIn. I'm very happy to link to anyone who wants to. Have a link to my coaching practice. There's a link to this book. And if you want to book me as a speaker, then it's got a link to my speaker. So that's kind of the summary page, ronaldshah.com.
All right, y'all heard that. All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Sean.
Um, Definitely can't wait for the summertime to get that full book. But definitely for you guys, definitely go check out that book. It's a short version of it. It breaks down to everything that you need to know. I trust this. You should trust it as well. And definitely be spiritual woke and mental woke and physically woke. Right?
Right.
All right,
Take
man.
care.
Well, you as well, man. It was a pleasure. This is John Podcast, and we are out, man. Deuces. What's up, everybody? It's John's Podcast. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more videos.